super smart dude find America. Oh, there he is. It's Cliff Schecter. Hi, Cliff.
You said super smart, so I just assumed you were talking about somebody else.
No.
Hey, how are you?
It's you. Listen, he was talking about, keeping control of Congress. I don't know if you saw the latest polls, Cliff. I keep saying this. Let's stop saying like it's already happened and we've already lost in the midterms. Democrats there was a 10-point shift. Democrats are now up by 1 point in, generic, what do they call those, generic polls?
I'm glad to see this. They wouldn't be called younger members in like any other area of life, but in Congress where the average age is like 87, like Ruben Gallego and Ted Lieu from your area out there and Eric Swalwell.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have some talented people who know how to message, and they've been jumping out there and just reaming the Republican Party. Like there was an article where they're saying, should Democrats get tougher or not? And Ruben Gallego just jumped in and was like, no, of course we should, and we shouldn't be asking permission. And it was like, thank God to see that. I'm so tired of this. Like they supported Vladimir Putin. They attacked the Capitol and wiped feces on the wall and stabbed police. Stop it. Tell people who they are and tell them how we have the greatest economy in 50 years right now. Let's do that.
Yes, thank you. You said that. You said, Dems, please put those who get it, like Representative Gallego. Future Senator, Swalwell, Plaskett, Lieu, etc. on messaging. Don't ask permission. Message the incredible job you've done on the economy, COVID, NATO, and how GOPers think there are Jewish lasers and Satan controls the Catholic Church. Please. I think Carville echoed something like that. And we've been talking about it several times just this morning. They're crazy people. There's a percentage of them that are just crazy people and weirdos. We have to just, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you. I just get so they create this caricature of Nancy Pelosi or whatever, and they run against that. And here we have, Marjorie Taylor Greene sitting there looking at a camera and saying the Catholic Church is controlled by Satan, and she believes in Jewish lasers and whatever other crazy stuff goes through that little head of hers. And I mean, it's her. It's Madison Cawthorn. Their own people are going after him because cocaine-fueled orgies, there's so many things to just pin them to the wall and say, here, to pick 6 people, right? Like Paul Gosar and Ted Cruz, and pick 6 of the least likable, craziest people and turn the entire Republican Party into that. And the thing is, you have a selection. Even finding just 6, you have to choose from among like 50,
Yeah. Well, and Biden's rating, I think, went up just like 5 points. I mean, it is, it's interesting. There was a story. Where was this? CNN. Biden has been letting loose in private conversations in recent weeks, railing about the factors bogging down his approval ratings and the people he thinks aren't helping. And he's gearing up for an intense midterm campaign built around hammering Republicans as he tries to save Democrats in the House and Senate. Biden is frustrated journalists aren't calling out Republicans for, as he sees it, giving up on their principles in pursuit of power. I mean, Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell have been exposed as just so pathetic. And there's Trump this weekend campaigning with the guy that called him Hitler.
Again, they're out there campaigning, all of them at various times, because of who the Republicans now put in leadership and who their biggest names are. It's like, oh, you're with Matt Gaetz, the guy that groomed 17-year-old girls. Oh, you're with Jim Jordan, the guy that ignored kids being raped at Ohio State. Oh, you're hanging out with Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Jewish laser lady. Oh, you're hanging out with Lauren Boebert, who's been arrested 5 different times and whose husband exposed himself to teenage girls at a bowling alley. Like, it goes on and on. There's no normal people there.
You've brought up Jewish space lasers several times already, which makes me feel like you have a Jewish space laser that you're not telling us.
Okay. I only use it during times of dire need.
Yes.
Okay.
And he only uses it for good.
Exactly.
Going on to the CNN story, advisors and others who've spoken directly with the president say the polarized country gives him a chance to make a more effective contrast than in any prior midterm cycle, boosted by the material they're counting on from expected primary wins by Trump loyalists and other far-right candidates. I mean, in some ways, I guess we should be rooting for Trump candidates to win because they're usually the far-right wackadoos, right? I mean,
and not as talented. I mean, Herschel Walker can't get 2 sentences out. This guy, he can't even explain what regulation is.
Yeah.
This guy in Nebraska where Trump was there last night. Was it last night?
I saw Warnock was up by 5 in the latest poll. Thank God. But we just have got to turn out in the same numbers we did. Yeah, in 2020. Go ahead.
That's the thing. And that's the messaging thing, because we need to make clear to people, she's not liberal enough for me, and oh, hey, great, we've got Gorsuch and Coney Barrett and all these other people. Now, the stakes need to be made clear how crazy they are, how awful their policies are, and how great a job we've been doing, because we haven't been telling people that COVID bill was outstanding. The tax credit that was in there was, child tax credit saved people. The money that, checks that went to people who couldn't go to their job.
I've mentioned, I think Midas Touch and some others have been talking about just how do we make people remember how awful it was 2 years ago. For God's sakes, we couldn't leave our house. We didn't have toilet paper. Right, go ahead.
I hate to to sit here and sort of seem like I'm putting together a vast left-wing conspiracy, but I honestly feel like on some level it may just be that you and me and the Midas guys and 50 other various groups of people that either have TV shows, radio shows, or have big presences on Twitter need to be talking to each other, because if the Democratic Party won't do it, we need to do it. Right. We need to be, I've been thinking that to myself. I should be waking up every week and putting out a tweet or two in the morning like, hey, here's what things were like a year ago at this time, or, well, not a year ago, but 2 years, 3 years ago when Trump was in power. Here's what we were looking at. Because people do need to be reminded how awful it was.
Yeah, just the indicators alone of what Biden has done with the economy. Well, this is exactly what the CNN story is saying. What we just said, Cliff, the president has lamented how much people have stopped focusing on how bad a state he believes the country was in under Trump. And so his old line, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative, has become a midterm mantra around the White House. Voters can easily believe the country isn't where they hoped, said one Biden advisor, but also believe they don't want to turn it over to Marjorie Taylor Greene in 22 and Trump in 24. They also pointed to, which we did, Macron's election. He had the same bad approval numbers, I guess, and all of that. And
36% was, became a referendum over there on Le Pen, a far-right lunatic connected to Putin. Same story. This should be, in the end, a referendum. Trump's not on the ballot, and I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about him. We should, but don't pull that Virginia stuff where it's just Trump. It's the entire party. The referendum is on, do you want Paul Gosar, in control? Do you want Jim Jordan, potential speaker and chairing the Judiciary Committee? Yeah. Do you want Louis Gohmert? Well, do you want Louis Gohmert really doing anything? Man has probably has trouble putting his pants on in the morning. We need to make this case.
But isn't it, I don't even know what to say about, we joke about them always saying Democrats are in disarray. This Republican Party, haven't almost all of them been exposed? How does that play with the MAGA base that behind Trump's back, they all say the same or worse than we say about Trump, right? Aren't they just exposed as ridiculous hypocrites? Whether it's McConnell or McCarthy or J.D. Vance or you name it, right?
But that's the other stuff we should do. We should be getting that out there. I try to remind people, I just did a commentary for the YouTube channel this morning, and I made sure to say to people, hey, you know what? J.D. Vance once called Donald Trump cultural heroin. Yep. He said he would have to hold his nose and vote for Hillary. Tell the Republican base that. You know what I mean? Tell them about who their guys are. Tell them about what the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene says. Tell them about Rick Scott's plan to raise all of their taxes. Again, these are, we can form these narratives that they are crazy, that they are greedy, that, and whatever, and then fill it in with all the details, because there's a lot.
You know what, though? Republican voters time and time again show that they aren't swayed by hypocrisy. How do we get around that?
Well, it has to be hypocrisy that's hurting them.
Yeah.
So, right, you're right. It has to be in their personal lives, right? So, to me, the hypocrisy is more something you go after them for the sexual stuff or the whatever. If it's that kind of stuff, to point out that all this crap they're saying about grooming, when they tried to help Roy Moore, who was picking up girls in trig class, to shut them up on that. But on some of the other things, I don't think a lot of them know that Rick Scott wants to raise all of their taxes. I don't think they know that.
Destroy Medicare and Social Security? That seems important.
Yeah.
That's right. Right. And so I think it's, we need to be out there messaging about that these people are evil and awful and corrupt and this and that, and it has to be every day. Problem is, if we only point out hypocrisy here and there, people don't remember it. It doesn't stick.
For instance, Midas Touch tweeted, if this is what the GOP has on Madison Cawthon, imagine what Putin has on the GOP. Oh, and you just said this is an incredibly good point. All these guys hide their true sex lives and their illegal activity, insider trading, etc. When Putin hacked the RNC emails, which were never released, can you imagine the gold he struck?
Right.
I've always said that.
Right. He never released the RNC emails. Do I care what Republicans are doing in private? Do I care what Lindsey Graham may be doing? He seems to like, whatever. I'm not going to even say anything. I'll get in trouble. But do I care if Madison Cawthorn is sitting there wearing lingerie? Good for him. I'm glad he enjoys expressing
That's
himself.
how you know it's Republicans that leaked it, because we don't care if he's gay or bi or wears a women's clothing. Right.
But if they're leaking it and they're hurting their own guys, good. Go ahead and do it. And that's the thing. Right? We should be going after these guys and the things we know their base does care about.
Yeah. You also, Josh Hawley tweeted, "This is the most anti-First Amendment administration in American history." And you said, "Here's Josh Hawley, known for raising a fist to a right-wing mob to ransack our Capitol, to spear, kick, stab, punch, stomp, and crush Capitol guards, ending with over 140 injuries and a few deaths, pretending that a disinformation board to prevent Putin neo-Nazi disinformation is censorship." Yeah, they're going crazy over this, of course, on Fox. And I said it's the same thing as Twitter, isn't it, Cliff? They want to be able to continue to lie with the impunity and not be fact-checked ever, anywhere.
Yeah, well, because if they're held to any kind of standard, they can't win. They have no policies. They're not running on anything except for we hate people that look different than us. And so, just in that sense there, again, like I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn, but it's like not hard to message this. So your answer to Josh Hawley is, great. Okay. First of all, you're banning books, so you're a liar. Second of all, I guess you want Putin and neo-Nazi disinformation. You like that. So, okay, admit that you like that. Admit that you like what Putin is doing, massacring people and then lying to us about it. Come back and hit him.
Yeah.
The guy looks like he was born in khakis. I love
by the way,
Josh Hawley's going to these men's rallies. Like he's going to teach anybody how to be a man.
I love that you called him insurrection innovator, Josh Hawley. It's an improv artist, really. Yeah.
Right, he is. And a little alliteration is always nice. You know what I mean? It is. And he did. He innovated. He used the fist of, that image of him holding up his fist like that. He should never be able to live that down. That should be with him the rest of his life.
Yes, we call him noted fisting aficionado, Josh Hawley. So
because he likes to raise a fist in the air.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, he does.
You are a liberal helper. You tweeted about our friend and hero, Bob Cesca. Bob not only has great takes on politics, music, and film, and a vast knowledge of our crazy political world, he's honestly a fantastic guy with a great sense of humor and a radio pro who was a host before he got into politics, and his show is flawless. Thank you. Like you, flawless.
Well,
everyone on my show, flawless.
That's very kind to say to me, and maybe true and maybe not true, but Bob has an incredible show, as you have an incredible show. There's a number of other folks who do too, and I don't, why are we all not doing that? We should all be helping each other.
You were just on Bob's show. That. Yeah, you were.
I was just on Bob's show. You tweeted. You're having me on your show. You tweeted out kindly the YouTube link to what I'm doing on you. Like we should all be doing that with each other. There's other. I'm not trying to criticize people. Some do, but we all win if more people hear from Bob Cesca. We all win if more people hear from you.
Thank you. Yeah, and good on you. Your YouTube channel blowing up. We linked to it, so please.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right, because as you said, we've had Jamie Harrison on. I think he's honestly doing a great job, and I think we have to stop saying, "Oh, Democrats don't message." There are a lot of great Democrats, a lot of the ones you mentioned that are, But we have to just admit that we are fighting a game against the media that is just. Trevor Noah made a lot of great points about it, but I was saying yesterday, with the Republican Party imploding and more Kevin McCarthy tapes coming out every day, Chuck Todd did a whole series on how Democrats are losing rural voters because there's got to be both sides do it, and oh yes, Democrats are in trouble too. We have to do it. You're absolutely right. We have to do it.
Chuck Todd. I love that line by Trevor Noah about I won't say ask a follow-up. I know you don't know what those are anyhow or something. How he's still on NBC, MSNBC.
Yeah.
He's awful. I won't put on that show. I will never put anything on that he's on.
Yeah.
I would assume a lot of people feel the same way, so I'm not sure who's watching. But
listen,
in any case,
I gave up Bill Maher for my mental health, but I'm still trying to do the Lord's work watching Chuck Todd, so you don't have to. Because we all have to fight it. You're right. That's why people like you and me and Bob and Midas Touch, we have to do it ourselves because we can't count on the media. They're just looking for clicks and ratings. They're not. It's like Trevor Noah said about the truth. You have a what's the word? You have a commitment to the truth. There's not.
That's
both
right.
sides don't do it.
You could be. It's always when you look at these, the way you point out what Russian journalists are doing, and a couple of those journalists that won awards a few months ago for reporting, and every American journalist, it was to watch them. Oh my God, look at this! Such courage, and you're just like, have you looked in the mirror? And it's not to say there aren't any of them. Like Dana Milbank at the Washington Post has been doing a great job. John Harwood at the New York Times. I try to point out the individuals who have finally said, screw this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the both sides model and they're going to have to fire me. But the problem is there's only a couple of them. Most of our media is just not set up. They refuse. Jay Rosen, who's a media critic, has pointed that out. Dan Frumkin, of course, our
one of the most
late friend
powerful,
Eric Bullard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the most powerful things I think Trevor Noah did is say, Tucker Carlson, whose entire show consists of questions you can just Google. Did Biden win the election? Yes. Do vaccines work? Yes. But it's just, that's his whole show, is I'm just asking questions. But okay. Anyway.
No, his whole show is, look, and they've got that New York Times piece on him, is that he's a uniquely unlikable person. You look at Tucker Carlson and he looks at every person that if you were stuck in a room with him, you'd punch him in the face within 20 minutes. So he failed on MSNBC. He failed on CNN. He sucks at hosting shows. So if he demagogues and plays to white nationalism, he can get a huge audience. At some point he said, I want to host a TV show. I have no talent at hosting TV shows, but if I can attract all the racists with everything I say, I'll get good ratings. And that's the deal he made.
Yep.